Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eminence TV Live, our weekly rundown of tournament cEDH and what's going on in the cEDH community. I'm Scoots, and as always, I'm joined by my co host, the Jamaican dude from Playing with Power. I have to say that there's a gun to my head. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Moxfield and the Epic Store, and without whom this wouldn't be so amazing. If you're enjoying Eminence content and would like to see more, please consider subscribing here on Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to one channel a month for free. We'd love if you'd consider using that on us. And coming now, very soon, Eminence Marketplace is going to have 3 different tiers of membership level that give you early access to fun, different things and allow you to support the activities of Eminence and the Eminence streaming team and the Eminence TOs and in the best way possible. EDH.events, by the way, is in beta, but aims to catalog all cEDH and EDH events tied to Command Tower. Eminence profiles are associated with Command Tower. There are competitive player profiles that list your wins and loss ratios in Eminence events based on any event you have participated in that was ran through the Command Tower software. That means your locals, your regional Eminence qualifier type events, your big Eminence tournaments, and even nationals when that happens, which, hey, that's still in the pipeline. Speaking of Eminence events, Punt City 2 is March 24th through 26th. It's about a month away. I'm super excited. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to having a great time with Nick, who is going to be my roommate, who is joining us today, and Ashani, and many other people, and it's going to be the best Eminence coverage ever. Speaking of which, the best Eminence coverage ever, the Cookout. That's right, the Dream Team, Ashani and I, are returning for the Cookout. That's July 29th through 30th in Atlanta, Georgia. And then finally, we have Windmill Slam, September 29th through October 1st. That's right, the dates got moved, so mark it on your calendars. The good folks at WotC have decided that they had an event the same weekend. As it turns out, both of us have event planners that look at good weekends to do things. So we have moved ours to September 29th through October 1st in San Jose, California. Another thing that we just want to shout out real quick before we go on to advertising the greatest thing that has happened to gaming, Command Tower, Riches to Rags, which is a competitive Pauper Commander tournament, is happening at the German beer hall venue Brauhaus Schmitz in Philadelphia, March 12th at 11 a.m. You should go and play some Pauper EDH, which I learned today is a format. It's scaling prizes up to $1,000 at 64 players, and there's a free Japanese Strixhaven set booster box giveaway. So go and get your cool dark rituals and tainted packs from that. Speaking of dark rituals, the dark ritual that we use to program Command Tower, let us have Command Tower live right now for shops and TOs globally to use. Memberships go from $5 and up. Shop partnerships are live. The shop partners sponsor a player or players in a main Eminence event. Shops purchase an entry and hold a cEDH event at their shop, with the winner getting the sponsored ride to, for example, Punt City 2. And I think there was a couple of those events so far already. We reserve an amount of tickets for shop partners in an effort to bridge the gap between large-scale event systems and LGS-level scenes, supporting the community and its player bases everywhere. Speaking of the community and its player bases, Nick, a.k.a. Alchmyst, joins us in the beautiful, sunny Eminence studio this evening. Hello, Nick. How are you, and where can people find you on the internet?
Hey Scoots, I'm doing well. People can find me at just Alchemist. I think there's a one in there. Alchemist1 on Twitter. Just Alchemist on Discord and Moxfield, just spelled exactly like you put in the title.
Ashani is being eaten, says Walker Ash. Look, it's some guy, says Hamster Mafia. Oh my god, a talking rodent. Okay, alright. I'm reading the chat now. Blessing on all of you for your support, and to you. Ash. So tonight's topic is one that's very near and dear to my heart, and it's what makes a cEDH deck good, what makes a cEDH deck great, and can any deck be cEDH? And so I think it's important to start out with Ashani. What is a cEDH deck?
That's a good question, Scott.
That's why
What
I
is
asked you, my very smart co-host.
absolutely cEDH deck is a competitive deck, competitive format where we wish to play the strongest cards and do the most broken things without worrying about um the real zero conversation of what your deck power is. And after that, everything else can be competitive. It's in the believer or whoever builds the deck if you think it's competitive. But the question that we have here is, do you can believe the deck is playable or cEDH viable, but is it truly viable? And what should be the standards of those? Should there be a standardization of what makes a deck viable? It was a question that came up to me just in my head today, where 60 card formats you have in Legacy. Um, if you talk about Legacy, it's always Delver. It's Delver and something else. It's normally a 2 deck format, but people play a bunch of other decks. You have Dark Depths, you have Lands, you have Elves. There's other thing that is also competitive. You even have Storm, that our lovely sponsors, the Epic Storm, is a big believer in. So, are those decks viable? The people who piloted believe so, but why are they not playing the so-called best deck? And I believe in cEDH at the moment in our tournament, because we're now doing tournaments and um we're very, collecting data, so we're very new to it. So what is the best deck? Back in the day, we would say would be Sushi Hulk. Hands down, Flash Hulk was the thing to be doing if you wish to compete. But what is it now? If we look at the small data that we have, a lot of people believe that would be Blue Farm. And what makes Blue Farm a good deck? So if we put the same cards in every deck that we build,
Right.
would that be considered a good deck? Like what makes a deck a good deck?
Well, we have in the chat also a pretty relevant point from Crossfire Cat, who says that Ashani looks like a bag of potatoes. No, he didn't say that. But he did say, would you consider cEDH in itself to be a Rule Zero conversation? So instead of disregarding the Rule Zero conversation, instead we have a baked-in Rule Zero conversation that says we're going to do whatever we want, we're going to win as fast as we can, and everybody should just be okay with that.
Um, I guess it could. You should have a Rule Zero conversation. I guess that's an interesting question. I don't know about
Is it
it, but
baked in? That's the question.
don't know.
Well, maybe that's a
Is it?
question for a different episode. The question for today is,
Maybe.
can we determine some objective measure of what makes a cEDH deck competitive, and if a cEDH deck can be competitive, or if it can be a cEDH deck at all? We have a question in the chat for you, Ashani. Ayo, Ashani, quick question. What should I sideboard in our next Legacy game? I'm thinking 2 Deafening Silence from Hyper Tempest.
No idea.
Is that just needling at you? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I'm just trying.
yeah.
I'm trying to get the questions to you as much as I can.
Yeah.
I will ask our lovely guest, who is adorned in Eminence merchandise. By the way, you can get those at the Eminence web shop, where you can also sign up for the membership levels that are coming soon. Nick, could you real quick show off the shirt and the hat real quick? Just give us a little.
Yeah.
Just a little
So
peek.
the hat was requested by Mike. He's like, "Don't wear the Eminence hat. Wear the skill issue specifically." The Eminence one's back there though. And then these cEDHU shirts. for this wonderful, wonderful server we've kind of put together that if you're not on it and you're looking to learn, definitely get on it. It's a place that I think is very relevant to tonight's topic too, because there's just a lot of channels dedicated to seeing if a deck can work in cEDH, and
Most
if so, how do you make it work?
Yeah, I think cEDHU is a great resource to tap into if you yourself have this question and you don't like the opinion of us three doofuses on the internet. I think you can form your own opinions. However, Nick, tonight the question is objectivity. Is there a way to determine objectively if something can be competitive or not? How do you feel?
So that's always a tough one because like I think the short answer is yes, but you have to be ready for some outliers.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think generally like objectively there are certain criteria you have to hit to even consider if your deck can truly be a CDH deck.
Yeah.
Stuff like can it reasonably assemble a win without any reliance on whatever your opponents are doing. So none of that. I'm just going to steal a win con from someone else. Like Praetor's Grasp is great, but that shouldn't be your only way of winning. Um, so you should be able to win on your own, and you should be able to win within a reasonable amount of time. I think the prevalence of more and more CDH tournaments popping up has been helping on that front, at least, because everyone's starting to learn. If I want to compete, I need to get my games done in 90 minutes or 75 minutes with turns, etc. And so I think those are two pretty objective qualifiers you can put on it. And then that's kind of more thinking from an offensive side. If you think from the defensive side, your deck also needs to reasonably be able to stop other CDH caliber decks and keep up with them. So if you're a turbo list, that just means maybe keep having something that can also play a few responses to the things that might get you either speeding past you, like we all know Rogsai, or something being able to answer pieces that are going to slow you down ahead of time. Comparatively, if you're playing a slower, more mid-rangey deck, you need to be able to play stuff that is going to be able to stop your opponents from just winning before you.
So, Nick, on that kind of note, I think we could start the objectively cEDH qualification with interaction. I think a large portion of the cEDH metagame is interactive pieces. And like you said, being able to stop others, things that are getting in your way or stopping you from winning. But also, I think we need to consider playing to the board and playing and whether or not you're running a density of answers for a wide variety of things. So, if we look at here's a good question to start it off with, and I think this is a question for my good buddy Ashani. Can a deck without blue objectively be cEDH?
That's a question I've been asking myself here, Scott, for a long while. Do you need blue to be competitive? And I don't know the correct answer to that. I want to say no, because I believe you can build a non-blue deck to prey on the blue deck. Um, I would like to say, like sure, Corval, because Corval, Get Wrong, those are the two that just come to my mind immediately.
I think also like
They're not
Mad Farm.
Mad Farm is also a very good one. Also, that's true. Is a deck that I believe you can prey on the so-called top tier deck or the blue deck that is doing something that's similar to it.
Mhm.
Because if you're not playing blue, you should be able to go faster than blue decks. The only issue that you have is, like I would love to say, you don't have your crush blue spells. Or for some other people who would like to say how you protect your win attempts. And I don't know, like blue to be competitive and like competitive in a tournament setting, I don't really think you need blue. You might have to be a more skill pilot if you're planning on being that kind of player. But I think you can still be competitive. You are lowering yourself to another level. Slicer is not competitive, so get that out of here.
Hold on, I'm typing boo in chat to Crossfire Cat with several O's real quick. Okay, got it.
Got it. Nick, what you feel about that, Nick? Is a deck without blue competitive? Huh?
Nick, the Alchemist, how do you
Oh,
feel?
I didn't hear you ask me. Yeah, no. So I think it can be. I think it comes down, like you said, it's definitely can be harder to pilot. Though there is something nice about being able to say, I'm not on blue, I'm passing on the threat. You have to, you blue decks deal with it. But I do think oftentimes people get caught up too much in the, I'm not blue, so I don't have to interact at all and don't pack answers. And I think decks still need to have something like if you're in white, you don't have counter spells, whatever. You should be making use of your silence effects, your Grand Abolisher, stuff like that. If you're in something like green, you can still pack answers in endurance, stuff, artifact destruction, enchantment destruction, just to kind of stop those maybe those fast turbo breach decks, etc. So I think I don't think every blue deck or non-blue deck, sorry. I don't think every non-blue deck is viable for cEDH. And I certainly think that non-blue decks, you're always going to have more qualifiers you need to fulfill if your deck is not on blue in order for that deck to really keep up in cEDH. But there are definitely quite a few that are competitively viable that are not in blue.
So I think it's fair to say as point number one of this discussion that your deck can be competitively viable if it doesn't contain blue, but we need to be running a thick, a large amount, a density of answers to common threats, and we need to be able to assemble a win by. Can we objectively say turn 3? I don't think is the standard anymore. There was a time when team turn 3 was the standard, but it was having played in that kind of generation, the Flash Hulk, that kind of meta. Nothing is that fast anymore, and that meta was quite less interactive than the current meta, I think, by like leaps and bounds. So, can we say turn? I don't think turn 3 is it anymore, but can we say turn 4? Turn 4 is that?
Do you believe it's slower now than it was back in Flash?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. What we need to do is instead of looking at the floor and the ceiling when determining how fast it is, we're looking at the average of how the games go. So you and I experienced, because we played in a very inbred, very parasitic meta, that we would have games going 12 turns or more, 3 hours long control mirrors because everybody played Hulk. Some of us idiots were on cremate, or what is the one with split second?
The one with is that oh my goodness.
The split second exile card from target graveyard, extirpate. We were playing extirpate, we were playing counterbalance, we were playing every non-conditional counter, delay, mana drain, force will, everything. And those games went 3 or 4 hours. But if we look at the shortness of some of those games as well, with the turn 0, turn 1 victories, the Gemstone Caverns ESG Flash Hulk that ASO did to me one time, we can look at the shortness of those games. I feel like on the whole, on the average, to regular Joe and Josephine cEDH player, they were shorter. But that's my feeling. So I think right now, given the density of interaction in in combo decks now. I feel like games are more determined by turn 4 than turn 3.
Okay, that's fair. I personally think I guess it was inbred, and as Hamster saying, the
Boomer
doomer
flash
flash
talk
talk,
intensifies. I'm sorry.
whatever, whatever.
We're trying to talk about history. Sorry, youngin. I'll
Um,
talk about Fortnite later.
oh, whoa, Scott. Listen, some of us have to get our boss killing in the way.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think I think it's faster. It could be the same thing, could be the same inbred meta that we're playing in now. That I I believe that there was recently I've been learning more about time equity in Magic versus I feel like you had infinite time in Magic. Sure, you're still worried about dying on turn 2 or turn 1, but I think there's a level of respect back in the Flash days that is not here now. And I think dying on turn 2 and turn 1 happens so much more
Okay.
that it used to back then. Um, but the question I have is why do people believe, right? Even Nick said it earlier about Rogsai. Why do people believe that it's either blue form or Rogsai? Like what is it? Is it
That
because
makes
those
that
decks?
one of those the
Yeah,
best
what makes
decks.
it the best decks? Like what is the card composition? Is it because it plays the best win conditions? Is it because it
Well,
plays the most compact condition? Like what is it?
Ashani, number one, there's something we have to get out of the way. Nick, what's the best deck in the format?
Oh, geez, don't make me answer that.
I mean,
Um,
Ashani and I have given our answers before. We got to get
Absolutely.
yours.
Yeah. Let me get yours.
um, you know, I think it's totally unbiasedly here. I think it's something that includes Grixis for sure.
Okay.
I need to clarify with Shani quoting me. I said that I think Rogsai is an incredibly fast deck that you have to keep
True.
an eye on. I
That is
didn't
true.
say it's necessarily the strongest. So I do think it's definitely up there. I think Blue Farm's up there. I think it's hard to definitively pinpoint one deck. And I do think there's others that kind of fly under the radar that are qualified. I'm just going to say it. I've been working with various people. I've talked to you guys a bit. I've talked to Connor. I've talked to people like Vasher, Zane. I've been working on Grixis
Say it, say
Malcolm,
it.
which
Yes,
I think is an
say it.
incredibly strong deck. I'm not going to claim it's the best, but I think it's an incredibly slept on, incredibly strong deck that can optimize. We talk about the reason people talk about why Rogsai is so strong is because it can optimize essentially every single slot. And
Would
I,
play Grixis
from looking at
Malcolm.
Malcolm, I think it does. It can do a similar thing where it's optimizing every single slot. You just happen to give a single slot to an insanely compact win con.
I
So
agree. I
Tamir
agree.
Tamir Malcolm is also an insanely strong deck that I think doesn't get enough credit.
I think so too. I
That
think so too. And actually, to kind of jump off on that point, I saw a tweet from someone the other day who I will not say, but I think they mentioned that they think of the Malcolm decks, uh Teamer is the turbo version of Malcolm, whereas Grixis is slightly slower. And I think I agree with that. Teamer is like regularly on turn 2 or 3 resolving great like Glenhorn Buccaneer and putting win on the stack. Yeah, I think
yeah, no, that
Malcolm
that
is
that
great.
was a good that was a good little conversation because both on Twitter and off Twitter,
Hmm.
which is the preferable place to discuss things,
Yeah, Twitter sucks.
um, there was a lot of discussion about that, and that kind of like proved what I've been kind of talking about with the list recently, which is that Grixis normally, like by default, we always think of Grixis as the fastest. So the
Hmm.
fact that we are saying that here, like one, is a testament to the strength of the teamer list completely. But also, I think a lot of the default lists, whereas typically for Grixis, the default lists you see around are built to be as fast as possible. I feel like a lot of the default Malcolm Smasher lists you see are built more mid-rangey, and so that's kind of what I've been experimenting with. And in my experience with this list, like I am at that similar speed of usually it's turn one Malcolm, turn two or three attempt,
Mhm.
which or set up for the attempt, which I do think is an important distinction in general with talking about when a deck can win, because you might not be winning turn two or turn three every time, but a lot of decks I think should be able to set up for
Mhm.
that. Whether if you read the table, whether that table is really one you can fire off the win con into is another story. But
So why do you say Grixis Malcolm, or as you say, a Grixis X deck has the best pool to make the best decks?
I just think it just has a lower what's the best word to say this? It's like maybe like a lower floor in that you're set up with a lot of success in that you have two of the best win cons in the game packed for you in Thoracle, Console, and Breach. You have the power of the blue counter suite. You have all of the black tutors that can get anything, which is another discussion I was having on Discord the other day of just the generality of those tutors is just incredibly strong. You have the acceleration. Some of the black rituals can provide stuff that red provides, like Dockside, etc. And then when you go to something like Blue Farm, then you're bringing in all those things I just mentioned and silence effects, um, and the little Ristic Buddy too, which is the card I'm always missing when I'm playing just Grixis. But
Yeah.
so I think that's why I say the core. But again, I don't think that's necessarily all of the top decks have to have that requirement. Like obviously we do see Winota just being this deck that exists in its own little space that can run around tournaments a lot.
Winota is gonna always be that one that goes against the grid, right? It's always is attacking on a different axis, and if maybe I think it's just a commander because we've had Boros decks throughout the time that hasn't had any legs. Well, no, before Winota it was Feather, and Feather was almost was it? What was it before Winota in
No one
Boros?
plays Feather. What?
It was Feather. It wasn't anything better than Feather in
No, there
Boros
was
colors.
something better than Feather and Boros.
I'm gonna say Aurelia because I will mute you if I had the power to.
What's up? Hmm?
I'm about to
You
say
think I would?
Aurelia.
You think I would do
Oh,
that?
okay, all right. Just double check it to make sure you have yourself in check, here, Scott.
I was gonna say
I'm
Aurelia. Yeah.
yeah, you were. But
100%
anyways,
was. Yeah.
that's a mid power deck at best. But
Ooh.
no, absolutely. The I don't think there was anything better. I think for Boris, I think Winota is what made that deck viable. I was surprised to see Blood Pod putting up good numbers again from the last Box Masters. Because I saw that deck was dead and buried for a long time.
Mm-hmm. So
And just seeing
that's Hermit Pod though. It's like it's a different, like it has some of the Blood Pod elements, but also does like Hermit Druid and
did it have
Breach.
Hermit in it?
Yeah, that deck was Hermit Pod. So you like Hermit Druid and then you Savine's back Breach.
Reach. Okay, okay. I didn't know if it was a Hermit Pod list, but I was just seeing like slower decks.
Hmm?
Other than literally, like if we as like we can see from the small data we have, everyone is for a slower controller build is Bruce Strassius. That is what people are bringing to the tournaments. Bruce Strassius and the Seaboard Muse. And then after that, now you have
It's not a
your
bad deck
Nagila.
either.
Is that a bad deck? I never truly tried that deck. I don't know why.
It's
I,
fun.
I should give it a try, but
Red
um,
Thrasios is fun.
yeah, after that you have the Gila, and I think maybe they have the same axis, but like there's been so many more Nagilas coming out of the woodwork now,
Yeah.
and just seeing the Gila back in the grind is pretty cool. And as we can say, Blue Farm just having all those silence effect and card draw, but is that what makes up cEDH? Is it the card draw, or is it, as you said, the concise win condition? Having all of that in Grixis is maybe what makes, that's why we believe Grixis X is the best color combination. Because your best win cards, if we can state, would be Underworld Breach Brain Freeze, Sauce's Oracle, Tainted Pact package, and that as something Darkside X.
Okay.
We can say are the best win condition. So if you can get all of those colors in the best win condition, you come up with Grixis, right? But everything else, if you try to put it somewhere, everything else kind of falls off. I've been trying to make Azorius work of Shurikai. Shurikai draw cards, but it doesn't get to compete on the axis on the other decks compete. Tame the Thrasios, as much as we love playing it, it doesn't compete as it used to. So is it because the lack of explosion, or is it just the lack of it doesn't get to play the red cards, which is one of the best win conditions right now?
So are we saying it's, what I'm trying to condense down here is, are we saying it's easier to be a cEDH deck if you have red? Is that?
I think we have red, blue, black, right? Is that what we're saying? If you're a cEDH deck that wish to compete, you need to start with this color combination.
Wow, that's a big statement that I don't know if I can.
Can you agree with it? Can you swallow?
I think it's definitely easier. Damon in the chat says it's easier to win 100% when you have that, and I agree. It's easier to win when you have that.
Well, isn't that where we're playing? We're playing to win. And win it. If you're competing, you're competing to win.
Some people, Sean,
we're not talking about stuff.
Play to win, but also like to have fun while they're doing it. And for some people, the winning is not the entirety of the fun. So I think the question that we sought to answer at the top of the stream is, what makes a cEDH deck, and can any deck be a cEDH deck? So can decks that are not Grixis, like I think we can always say that Grixis, I think it is safe to say that it is easier to win when you have a Grixis core, and whether you add another color, green or white, that helps. Or if you add 2 more colors and you play 5 colors, that helps too. You can always support Grixis, but what about the people who want to play like Minsk and Boo? That is just the antithesis of Grixis. Do we think that Minsk and Boo can be cEDH?
Minsk and Boo? You're talking about Gruul?
Hamster Hulk.
Is that the Naya one, or
the Naya one?
Yeah, okay.
Not Timeless Heroes, but the original Minsk.
Minsk. Okay,
Ranger, you know.
Sure. So that Naya gets red, and if we're truly saying red is broken, then yes.
So is the criteria for being a cEDH deck that your deck has red in it and you can play Dockside?
Listen, I've played the deck that doesn't play Dockside in those colors, and I'm going to tell you it's a lot harder. Polymorph, I believe I love Roger Malcolm Polymorph, but not having access to Dockside is the big downfall.
These are some bold claims we're making on the Eminence broadcast tonight. Nick, I would love to hear your thoughts on whether or not a deck must have red in it to be competitive in the current cEDH tournament metagame.
Come on. You think I'm not going to support the Goblin that's a pirate? It's pirate, man.
Well, okay, hold on. Yes, fair. It is okay.
That's what red means, right? Red just means Dockside, like Ashani said. No, I think, like, you can. I would never want to. you can,
But
but
you
you better
definitely
have
can. We have like
you better have
empirical evidence.
a pretty good reason too, I'd say. Like a deck that's been making a lot of appearances lately is Tivit. Tivit doesn't have red, but Tivit has a one card win con with the commander. So it gives you a specific reason to play that deck and not have red. And I think you need that.
Another deck that
Because
we can
something
point
else that
to. Go
Hyper
ahead.
Tempest pointed out with red that I realized we didn't talk to. That's the only one I want to make sure we got this point out. Is now we've kind of been, those of us that are like really hardcore with Grixis have been putting in sometimes all three of the Final Fortune type effects in Final Fortune, Last Chance, and Warrior's Oath. And that's yet another huge strength, especially when I think I do agree overall with Ashani. The game is a bit faster, even if people, like I said, don't pull the trigger, to where we've all been in that game where we're like, if I had one more turn, and those spells kind of solve that issue. And so that's just another benefit
Yeah,
of playing
that's
red.
fair. So I'm loving that we have kind of accidentally settled on if you're trying to top the EDH tournaments, which is ostensibly what you're trying to do if you are tuned into the Eminence Gaming Eminence TV live show. You are trying to win games under the restrictions of a tournament, wherein you can have like between 75 and 95-minute rounds. Some have no turns, some have one set of them. But you need to win in a time limit, and it behooves you to go fast. We've kind of narrowed it down to in tournament cEDH, you are putting yourself on hard mode if you're not giving yourself access to things like Dockside, Underworld Breach, Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation. Is that a fair assessment so far?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Now,
you need some other strong, if you're not going to have those win cons, you need some other strong in your deck is compact win
mhm.
con in order to keep up.
So let me ask you this question. I think it plays off of what we've been talking about. Part of the intention of the discussion today was to ask if any deck taken to its maximum power could be a cEDH deck. And my question to you is, in a deck that is in, say, blue, red, and X, is it objectively correct for that deck to be on Breach, Brain Freeze, LED, regardless of the actual plan of the deck? Is it
Yes,
wrong to not play those win cons if you want to be the most competitive?
yes, it is wrong.
And Nick,
If it,
agree?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very wrong. Like I've got a list that's like a kind of a joke list. That's Tavesh Krom, not calling Tavesh Krom a joke before anyone jumps on me. That's like a polymorph.
Mohawks in the
That's a
chat, they're going to kill you.
yeah. Yeah, it's a polymorph list that I threw together just for fun. And I don't think that's viable because it's losing out on, it has to use like Jace
Can't
instead of
use
Thoracle,
Dockside, yeah.
and you can't use Dockside. So like I would never play it aside from messing around with some friends in a
Yeah.
pickup game. So yeah, no, I definitely agree.
So Damon MTG in the chat made the point that I was going to make when I asked you that gotcha question. Teamer Malcolm does not play Breach, but we have talked about it as one of the better decks in the format earlier. Is there some concession to the idea that maybe you don't need Breach?
thought about it. I mean, I'm not in the slightest saying that um, Rog Tavesh is a viable seeding strategy, but it doesn't play breach, and it doesn't need to play breach. Could be
What
wrong.
does it play, Sean?
Oh, it plays Sire of, okay, Scott, this is
So
catch.
I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if in a deck like Rog Tevesh, which as I understand it is designed to tax both the card draw economy and the mana economy of decks.
Correct.
In decks that are doing that, I think we can agree that there can be a concession made to not playing Breach. Like we can agree that in, say, notable tournament enterer, um Arden Hana, there we go,
Oh,
hipster
okay.
stacks, no Breach, but that is a deck that plays Rule of Laws and Null Rods, right?
Right.
So, and we can agree, I think the statement that we can agree on, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you're playing a deck that is looking to tax either the mana economy, the card draw economy, or the card draw economy of decks at the table, you can get away with not playing Breach. The question is asking, outside of that, is that objectively competitive? I'm asking you to make a scathing statement about stacks, both of you, right now. So I'll start with Nick.
Oh boy.
Can stacks
Well,
be competitive?
in order to totally buy myself a little time here, I will say with the Teamer Malcolm, the one thing that I'll give it without running Breach is that, like, compared to like a Grixis variant, right? They don't have as many ways to actually tutor up the Breach stuff. They have so many millions of creature tutors, and they have other creature combos. But can stacks be viable? Some.
Okay.
But I
That's
don't
diplomatic.
think. No, I'm starting diplomatic. I'll go less diplomatic.
All right.
So I think when I think of realistically the most viable stacks lists, they are decks that have a central game plan where stacks just happens to work well in there. It's not because a deck that's sole purpose is to stall will just get a bunch of draws and screw you and your opponents out of top 16. Like that's what's going to happen if you don't have an actual, like I said in the beginning of this, a concise way to go to victory. Like Winota, people call it like stack snowball, whatever. Realistically, the stacks pieces there are kind of just happenstance of coming out as it's just beating you down with all of these bodies.
Yeah.
So I think a pure dedicated stacks on stacks deck is not realistically viable. I think a deck that uses some to get to its goal, that can work.
Things like Timna Halana Hulk, which play a few stacks pieces in order to protect like a Hulk win. We call that a viable deck because we've seen our very own Connor take that to top 16s. So, and Gustav take that to top 16s. So
it's because Connor has not done a thing. Love it, Connor. Love it.
Didn't Connor?
No, Connor got bubbled out.
Oh, Connor got bubbled out, right?
Yeah. But hot take. Winota is an aggro deck, not a stacks deck.
Yeah, we know.
I agree with that.
Alrighty, let's go.
Yeah, 100%. It's not a stacks deck. It incidentally flips stacks into play, but the thing that I've talked about with people about Winota several times is that it is a turbo deck, but its turbo is a different turbo than you're thinking of. It wants to play an Ornithopter and then Winota, and that's what it's trying to turbo out. It's turbo misery. It's not turbo win the game.
Can go to be cEDH.
Oh my gosh.
No.
So hold on.
No.
I gotta chip in on this one. I gotta chip in on this one because back in the day, years ago, 2018, 2017, did try to make Food Chain Galta work. The issue is that your tutors for Food Chain are awful. You have like like Ring of Three Wishes. Like those are your tutors for food chain and green. So like and also back then I don't think Greater Good had been printed yet, right? That got printed in Battle Bonds, so it was harder to do things with Galta and do a ton of card draw. But can Galta be cEDH as a Galta stan and professed former Galta player? No, not a chance. No, garbage. No, it's the worst. It's the worst garbage green deck. I really wish that Discord streamer mode would stop. People would stop the notification from coming up when one of your group chats starts a video call. That would be super good. It keeps popping up over my face on the stream. I'm gonna cry. Galta is just a smoke screen for casuals to play Bro Storm, says Crossfire Cat in the chat.
Yeah.
Probably not incorrect, because when you play Galta, you worldly tutor for Selvala and try and win with Selvala combos 100%.
Secret Commander Silvala, yes. But guess we have came down so we're gonna eventually say you need ad nauseum Saucer's Oracle Breach to make a competitive cEDH deck. And other than that, if you want to play anything outside of those, you need to play it for a while, know the ins and outs of it, and you can definitely have it become very competitive or hyper competitive. It has a lot to do with the pilot at that point. But other than that, I think if we can all agree, if we wish to win, start with Grixis and go out. We were talking about Malcolm Grixis Paris earlier today, and how to revisit that deck. Glad to see you guys are still playing it, but I don't know, didn't sit well with me.
Uncounterable, Sean. Creatures are uncounterable right now. Like Glinthorn Buccaneer reads cannot be countered, win the game right now. Like,
listen, let's play some Godo for the good old times. Godo won
okay,
something.
so here's the thing. Godo just won a Mox Masters, right? So like the deck's still viable.
Yeah. And nobody's playing removal anymore, as you just said. Creatures
nobody's playing removal anymore. Like I feel like one of the things that we're gonna slowly start pivoting into is, and I hate to give sponsors the Epic Storm credit for anything, but they did kind of get people playing Deadly Rollick again.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we're gonna need. That I got hit with a Path to Exile the other day, Sean. Path to Exile, like that's where we're at. I think the meta is going to begin adjusting towards effects. Like we're gonna see Vanishing Verse again, Path to Exile, Swords, Deadly Rollick. I got Chaos Warped the other day in combat. I got like at beginning of combat before attackers were declared. I got my Glinthorn Buccaneer Chaos Warped.
That's rough times, Scott. That's rough times.
That's tough. It's tough out here.
Tough. That's rough. Chaos Warp, yeah, that's a rough one. No, but I don't know. Like, hey, Golden's playing red, right? So we started off with one good color already, one of the winning colors. Not playing any of the winning.
Any of the other good colors.
Other good cards. Yeah, but we have red.
We can play Dockside and also. The fun thing about Godo... Oh, by the way, Thor Odinson, first-time chatter. Thank you earlier for the sub. I'm just now seeing it in my sidebar. Sorry about that. Thank you for the Prime sub. And says, glad I'm starting out playing Godo. And you know what? Good for you, because the thing about Godo, the thing that I've noticed about Godo is it's one of those decks that had a pretty good core and just gets support in sets. Like, set after set after set. Goblin Engineer, Cursed Mirror... Like, we just keep seeing Mind Goblin. We just keep we just keep seeing cards get printed for Godo. It's funny. I'll play against Tony S, who's the writer of the Waiting for Godo primer, and he'll joke about like getting your event cards before the game and getting your sticker sheets ready before the game because he plays cards that use those. So he's like, hold on, I'm assembling my sticker sheets. Okay, jerk. Uh, but
That's cool though. Sticker sheet, yeah.
Nick, we're getting kind of to the close of things. I just wanted to know if you had any closing thoughts on cEDH viability and the talk that we've had today.
Oh, it's got to be a hot take, right?
It doesn't have to be, but like for the
absolutely.
views, it would be good if it was.
Yeah.
My hot take is, but also a advice is like, we're talking about viability, and oftentimes people, especially in cEDH, they'll get excited, overly excited about new hot things that challenge the ideas that, like, things that we're talking about here. What is the most optimal? What is the most viable? And so they kind of get these fanatical followings. Don't buy into the hype. Like, be a human being. Do your own research, do your own testing. Like, you should listen to people that are experienced because it's valuable to get multiple people's insight, but like, you got to think of these things for yourself. And also, like, just because it's the flavor of the week doesn't mean it's going to stick around. I mean, I'm just going to come right out and say it. Everyone loves talking about Slicer right now. We'll see if he sticks around. Because I don't know. This is just, again, it could just be the flavor of the week, flavor of the month, whatever. So we'll see. And I'm not saying
get that poo-poo red deck out of here. It's poo-poo.
Slicer is a great deck if you can manage to mind control all three of your opponents for the entirety of a game.
Which is why I said my stipulation at the very beginning of this was you need to be able to win without any requirement of what your opponents are doing. So, and also Slicer dies to Blue Blast. I want everyone to remember that. Run Blue Blast in your lists.
I started running Beb after Godo won the Mox Masters, and it's for Slicer too, baby. Please
there's
stop
so many
calling
red
me.
threats.
Oh my god. Okay. All right.
Popular guy, Scott.
You know, there are so many red threats, and Beb and Hydroblast out here killing all. Nick, I just wanted to take a second to prop up your credentials because you are a mentor and moderator at cEDHU. You are a TO for this particular organization whose stream you're appearing on right now. And you have a long list of successes. Where can people find more of you on the internet, Nick?
Let's see. Again, like I said, Alchemist1, I think, is my Twitter handle. Discord, chances are if you start adding Alchemist, you'll see me pop up. I'm pretty active nowadays. I've been trying to chat more with the folks on the Malcolm Discord, Grixis Mean Girls, I'm a moderator on. I talk a lot there. cEDHU, I'm there essentially every day.
The bias comes to the surface. Moderator of Grixis Mean Girls. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we see.
Listen, all I'm saying is if you look at commanders people play in Grixis colors versus everything else, Grixis gets so much. We got like 3 commanders out of 1 set. So if people want to hate, they want to hate. But yeah, no. I'm always happy to talk Magic. Anyone on any of those Discords, be happy to chat. Including some of the One Piece TCG surfers.
Oh my goodness. We're
Ashani,
throwing the One Piece. Yo. Gotta throw the One Piece plug. Well done, well done.
You're a member of Playing with Power as well as being my right-hand man here on the stream, and one of the excellent casters at EminenceMTG, and you have a long history of helping with things like cEDH budget brews and things of that nature, the cEDH Nexus. You're a very well qualified individual. Where can people find you on the internet if they want to hear more from you?
You can find me on the internet. Twitter as Ashani, and on Discord as Jamaican Dude. And that's about it.
Perfect. And I'm just some bozo that's charismatic enough and technically sound enough to run the stream, so you don't need to know anything else about me. But if you want to, you can find me on the internet at It's Me Scoots and in pretty much any Discord server that you can think of as just Scott #6969. That's right. Now, Nick, we're ending the broadcast, and so as you are a guest, you do have to answer a final question. Are you prepared for the final question, Nick?
Is it my favorite question? I think if it's the question I'm thinking, yes, I am prepared to answer.
If it's your favorite question, then you are prepared to answer. Okay, the question, Nick, is what is the sexiest soup?
All right, lobster bisque. That's
Lobster
the answer.
bisque. Okay, all right.
Lobster bisque.
And we're not even gonna explain. I think people
No.
can hear in your accent why you think lobster bisque is the best soup.
Dear God, do I already have an accent?
Oh my God, you're doing it. You're doing it.
Never go back to Philly.
Lobster bisque. Okay, everybody have a good day. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.